Hello, gamers, and welcome to this Mentor Tournament 2025 race between Simon and Officer Meow Meow. Welcome to the Go Mode Podcast Mentor Tournament 2025. We've got a brand new set of mentees this year who will be competing against each other, and we are already well into almost over with week one of the Swiss pairings. So this is going to be an open sword assured seed. So both of our runners are going to be starting with a sword on hand, and we'll see what they choose to do with their opening routes here in just a second as they get started. This is a kind of rewatch of a match that did happen a few days ago. Last year I did couple of these VOD rewatches, and some people seem to enjoy them, so I'm going to do some more of them this year. I'm going to get our streams synced up just a bit. Okay, alright, so looks like we got both runners starting in Sanctuary. So identical starts. Some people will elect to start at Link's house instead, and go to Secret Passage and Uncle, but it looks like we have neither runner doing that today for this seed. Got an early map check already. It looks like we've got crystals at Eastern Palace and Tower of Hera, but we've got a green pennant down there at Desert Palace. We're going to have a little bit of divergence here. Officer Meow Meow trying to farm up a tree pole by throwing the sign on that guard. Simon doing the same on his side with that buzz blob. And it looks like we have Simon probably going to check this bush crab in case there's any bombs. Ooh, we got a fairy prize from the bush crab. That is very rare. Only a 1 in 63 chance. Usually not very relevant, but if in case you need like 4 fairies or something. And it looks like we just got a red rupee on Lumberjack, so nice knowledge to have for Simon, but Officer Meow Meow going to be able to gain a little bit of time having skipped that check for now. Did have 300 rupees in the Lost Woods drop down, as well as the mushroom spot, so plenty of money for both of our runners. In fact, we're going to have enough money for both the bottle vendor check in Kakariko, as well as enough money for Zora. And there are 50 rupees also available in Kakariko, 10 blue rupees as you do Blind's Hut and the Well. So even if you need to buy a pack of 10 bombs from the Kakariko store, you'll still have enough money for Zora. So we'll see if a potential fake flipper to the Zora area is on the table for either of our runners. But neither of them having bombs for Kakariko, so going to have to route this a little bit awkwardly. Looks like we're starting with the back of the bar here, which is just a heart container. And most likely, yeah, gonna just go ahead and buy a pack of 10 bombs here. Simon looks like they might be actually just heading to Blind's Hut. Okay, they're skipping over that and doing Bottle Vendor first. Okay, this makes sense, because yeah, I was just exactly gonna say that if Bottle Vendor has bombs for you, on the off chance it has bombs, you get to route it a little bit more nicely as opposed to Meow Meow, who had to walk all the way down to the bomb shop. So we'll see if that difference kind of pays off by the time that both of these runners are leaving Kakariko, but either way, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Looks like we got an early Fire Rod here in Blind's hideout. That is going to, of course, put Dark Cross into logic. Neither of our runners have any magic to kind of make that happen logically, but the Fire Rod does put Dark Cross into logic. There are torches along the way in every screen of the Hyrule Castle Sewers sequence, so the game logic will consider that to be accessible. And if the key is not in the back of Hyrule Castle, we also have logical access to the back. Of course, we don't know that, given that we don't know where that small key in Hyrule Castle is, but that is a potential thing that can happen here. Also got a Master Sword already. That's definitely nice to have. You know, these mentees are, of course, coming into this tournament with varied skill levels. And it's just week one here. I think last year I was mostly commentating the bracket matches after the 6 weeks of Swiss, so we definitely had, mentees who were kind of leveled up after having worked with their mentors. But this time around, they're just starting on their journey with this mentor tournament. So there's a lot of mentees who at this point are still going to be pretty, intimidated by some of the harder boss fights and stuff like that. So having that Master Sword early is certainly a big boon. Looks like Meow Meow is going to elect to walk all the way out of Blind's Hideout, and looks like both of our runners are going to make their way towards Race Game and Library Ledge. I will say, when you're in the situation that Meow Meow is in on the right here, you can elect to save and quit from Blind's Hut, because it's kind of a long walk all the way from Blind's Hideout all the way to Race Game and Library Ledge. It's actually not that much faster to do this walk than when you compare it to just walking here from Link's house. So that is a skip that you can elect to do, but looks like Meow Meow is going to kind of keep things a little bit more simple and finish out the Kakariko route and not orphan anything behind here. We do have a glove on Race Game, so Officer Meow Meow deciding to scout that first, because most of the time the item on Race Game is not a major item that you need, but this time it's definitely going to be something that's required, so you're definitely going to want to pick that up. And Simon looks like is going to be able to gain some time here, gain some time back, given that they did not scout that item and just elected to get this item without peeking at it first. So everything that's said and done, both of our runners are going to be within a few seconds of each other coming out of Kakariko, so really here is where, you might start to see some differing opinions on what to do. Of course, going to the back of Escape is a very solid option. You do have that glove to allow you to drop down. It looks like both of our runners are going to elect to do that. One small complication about this is that if we find the key here, it is possible to get to Dark Cross from the back, and you'd ideally like to, because it is actually faster to get to Dark Cross from the back than it is from the front. But of course, we don't actually have any magic for our Fire Rod, and you'd have to end up killing the Key Rat in the dark with no way to see. And so that's probably not something that I expect our runners to do. Yeah, so Meow Meow, I'm going to take a save and quit, and I wouldn't be surprised if I see Simon do the same, even though we do have that key on hand. So a little bit unfortunate that we don't have that magic, but of course that Moon Pearl is going to be a required pickup and is going to leave us only one item away from our Darkwold access. We're going to need either a hammer or another glove for Darkwold access. Looks like Simon unfortunately forgot to open the chest in Link's house. It can be a little bit easy to forget that once when you are starting at Link's house for the first time, 6 or 7 minutes into the seed. I've definitely done that before, but not really a big deal. And looks like both our runners electing to, stay out of the front of escape checks for now, not doing secret passage, and instead going to go here to the dam. I think the most common route I see here is people will do the dam, then route over to Mini Moldorm Cave, and then to Ice Rod Cave. But you can definitely split up South Shore checks in different ways. You can go from Dam to Agina, and then save and quit and do Mini Moldorm Cave and Ice Rod Cave on a separate trip. If you're really aggressive, you can do only the Dam and Mini Moldorm Cave, and then leave the two kind of slower checks behind. That's not really something I expect these mentees to be doing at this stage. Looks like we got another sword here, so already Tempered Sword. Probably no complaints from either of these runners that we have that already. And looks like both of them gonna have the same idea and just head over to Mini Moldorm Cave. Looks like we do have the Golden Bee here, and Officer Meow Meow gonna make good use of that to kill these Mini Moldorms without having to, walk all the way over and whack them with the sword. So very good on-the-fly thinking. I'd be remiss to avoid mentioning the mentors that are mentoring these two racers, or the mentors that did mentor these two racers in this seed. And I believe, hold on while I look that up. I should have had this on deck. I believe Simon is being mentored by Lana Bean, and Meow Meow is being mentored by Mormasil. So I wouldn't be surprised if that move with the Golden Bee was actually a call out from Mormasil, Meow Meow's mentor. Apologies for not having that information on the video layout here. I'll try to get that in next time. Ooh, how did that crab dodge that boomerang? That was some cheat codes right there. It looks like our stun prize today is Heart, if I saw that correctly. Officer Meow Meow did use the blue boomerang to stun that crab, and that is actually a pretty useful stun prize to have in mind. So anytime you need a heart, some health, some extra health, you can stun an enemy and kill it, and it will drop that stun prize. Just a shield here in Ice Rod Cave, so nothing of importance, and it looks like we are... okay, I was going to say we might be getting some divergence, but it looks like both runners going to save and quit. Yeah, I'm taking a few seconds to think, and let's see where we go from here. So we ended up getting a book and a mushroom along the way, it looks like. And looks like both of our runners actually going to make the call to follow up on that book and go to Desert Palace. Or maybe not. All right, so it looks like Simon is actually going to use a bomb setup to get this fake flipper screen transition and going to go turn into Mushroom. So I will say Officer Meow Meow is kind of chasing, where the items point you in terms of the book. It does lead you to, all of the checks here in Desert Palace, assuming that Desert Palace, of course, is not boots locked, which it definitely could be. So that is definitely a risk that Meow Meow is taking here. But of course, even if Desert Palace is hard boots locked, you can still get the item on Desert Palace ledge, as well as this Agena check right here. I think what Simon is doing here is, unfortunately, the mushroom is kind of just a one-off check. You can't really combo it with anything, but it is kind of a less committal check, right? Officer Meow Meow potentially going to be, doing everything here in Desert Palace, which could be a big time commitment. Could also not feel that great, especially if it's boots locked and you don't end up finding anything. It looks like Simon, if I saw that correctly, did decide to save scum the mushroom, so that is a technique that you can do. Turn in the mushroom, but then hard reset your game without saving so that you still have the mushroom on hand. Usually that's not super relevant, but it can come in handy if you want to keep that mushroom around for a potential fake powder glitch. So if you have the Cane of Samaria and the mushroom on hand, you can check Magic Bat without having the actual magic powder on hand. It will be a sequence break, so some people don't really take much stock into it, but it is an option that Simon will have, that Simon may have if we find the Cane of Samaria. Looks like Simon is also going to make the play to Desert Palace. I think the other options available to our runners at this point would have been going to Secret Passage and Uncle and the front of Hyrule Castle Escape, including potentially Dark Cross, since that is in logic. And then going to Saha for those quick 3 items was another option. Meow Meow is going to find the red rupee here in the first chest, which does mean that Desert Palace is boots locked, so I can't really be feeling great given that we didn't find anything in Agena, and I didn't see what it was, but I don't think we saw anything important on the ledge either, otherwise Meow Meow would have walked over and gotten it, so not really feeling too great about that, although it looks like because Simon is doing pretty much the exact same thing, not really going to lose any time. Oh, that's right, it was just 50 rupees on the desert ledge, so definitely won't be needing that. So, looks like Simon is basically behind just a mushroom turn-in that Meow Meow has not done yet. I assume that at some time in the future, Meow Meow is going to want to turn in that mushroom, so maybe, even though it looks like Meow Meow is ahead by, about 45 seconds or a minute, might not actually be the case. Meow Meow is going to find the boots here in Hyrule Castle Secret Passage. That is definitely a great pickup. So we're going to be zooming through these screens much faster than before, and that's also perfect to have for this front of escape sequence. Does feel quite bad having, because you could have done this first before going to Desert Palace, and then you would have been able to full clear Desert Palace and get the other item in the dungeon, as well as potentially, if you wanted to, take down Lanmo for that green pendant, which opens up another check when you get to Saha. So a little bit unfortunate ordering of checks by both of our runners here. We'll see if Simon follows suit, and it looks like he is. Hoping to see some nice dash lines here in the Castle Escape sequence, and Temper Sword is basically going to trivialize the rest of this dungeon. Only going to be 1 slash for even these blue key guards. got a piece of heart in that chest. Very nice usage of the boomerang to get that key without having to walk all the way there. And the boots also unlocks the ability to check Balk rocks. We could potentially do that on the way to going up the mountain. Of course, the mountain is not in logic here without a lamp or a flute, but a lot of mentees, even though this is the first week, of things, a lot of mentees will already know how to do the old man rescue in the dark. Very nice usage of the boomerang again by Meow. And it looks like we're taking a death warp here, so that probably means, I wasn't paying attention, but it probably means we found the map in the first check. I guess we'll see on Saimon's side, but I'm just going to assume based on what Meow is doing that we have an item in Dark Cross. Unfortunately, this is a bit of a long death warp. It would have been slightly more efficient to take damage from the Ball and Chain Guard, since Ball and Chain Guard does do a full heart of damage, whereas that Green Guard only does half a heart. Didn't see the map there. A little bit... I guess the map was in the... were there 2 items in the back, or just 1 item in the back? I guess we'll see when Meow gets to Dark Cross. Okay, well, Simon just pulled up the actual map, and it looks like he did find the map somewhere, so I guess I just misremembered it. But Meow gonna make their way in the dark to Dark Cross, which, again, is in logic. Making their way through the snake room now, and they are in the Dark Cross room. There are some torches you can light with the fire rod. Looks like they're going to go for that, and just a piece of heart in Dark Cross. So nothing of note in Hyrule Castle, but good to have that done and over with. So I guess on Meow's side, we had the option of doing Balk rocks to Mountain, or we had the option of doing the Saha check. Looks like they're actually going to go back to Desert Palace. So following that book and Boots combination, Simon electing to leave Dark Cross behind, actually. So they're going to actually gain some time back. We'll see if they end up leaving that behind for the rest of the seed. I think Dark Cross is, one of those locations that you definitely could just orphan and leave behind forever, unless you end up at like Pyramid Ledge with the mirror on hand. But if they leave that behind forever, it's not actually going to cost them, as that is just a piece of heart that they left behind there. Alright, so Meow going to commit to getting the other item out of Desert Palace. Meanwhile, Simon finds the mitts in Balk Rocks, so that is our Darkhold access. And that was probably... Balk Rocks was really what the seed wanted you to follow up on. A little bit of indecision with Simon here. Understandable, since the mitts is kind of an interesting item to find here, because it does let you go into the Dark World. So an option available to Simon here was we could have checked Sick Kid in Kakariko and then headed to the Dark World. But it looks like they are instead going to head up the mountain. Again, this is not in logic, but I think the reasoning here, or the reasoning that I would be giving if I was coaching Simon, is whenever you have Dark World access through only the mitts, you kind of want to be a little bit extra thorough before going into the Dark World, because your Dark World access kind of sucks, and you always have to go through the Kakariko portal. So the more other checks you can clear before going there, the better. That also is true because you could, for example, end up finding your hammer here on the mountain or something like that, and then you might be able to get an item in the Thieves' Town big chest that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. It looks like they're going to stay satisfied with just the Old Man Rescue. They're not going to go to Spec Rock or anything like that. And, or maybe they are. Okay, they just wanted to save and quit, I guess. Meow is going to go ahead and get the remaining item here in Desert Palace, which looks like it's on Lanmo, if I'm understanding correctly. And they also are going to grab that green pendant, of course. Now, if that green pendant does turn up with something required for the seed, that could be a big advantage for Meow. I think with the amount of other options that Simon has opened, with Dark World access, that is not really looking like an appealing option. We do see the Ice Rod up there on Spec Rock, and Simon doing a little bit of an unconventional strategy here, and just going to get the item on Spec Rock without going into the cave first. I actually understand this because Simon is pretty much locked into saving and quitting here anyways, so it doesn't take that much extra time to do this rather than scouting it. And Simon does find the flippers, so we have some pretty interesting options here. I think if we're going to go along... Okay, I was going to say Simon looked like he was, putting off the Dark World in favor of trying to do some other checks. And so if we follow that logic, we might have, started at Link's house and checked Hobo in the Zora area. It looks like Simon is instead going to go over and check King's Tomb. And it looks like the second item was not in Desert Palace, actually wasn't on Lambo, so it's actually in the rest of the dungeon. But of course, doing Lambo first does make sense, just in case that's the other item and you don't have to do the right side at all. Simon is going to find the lamp here in King's Tomb, so Simon already finding a lot of nice, progression items here. I imagine, that lamp is not going to be something that Meow Meow is going to miss. Once Meow Meow has their mitts, which are in Bollock Rocks, it's, pretty surefire bet that they're going to open up King's Tomb at some point, the next time they find themselves at Sanctuary, or they could just do it right away after Bollock Rocks as well. So both our runners most likely going to have access to that lamp. And Simon is in the Dark World. We get our Dark World map check. Looks like a Skull Woods and Turtle Rock are the two other pendants today. Alright, Meow Meow still not going to be doing that Bollock Rocks check, but instead going to be doing the 3 checks at Sahashula. This makes perfect sense because you just spent all that time filling Lambo for that green pendant. Definitely want to see what that is. It does unfortunately mean that if there's nothing here at Saha for Meow Meow, it does leave them in kind of an awkward place because they're kind of already halfway to Eastern Palace, but they'd be committing to most likely a double dip of Eastern if they did go in there. Looks like Simon, as their first step into the Dark World, is going to step into Skull Woods. Okay, and nothing in Saha's closet. Did we get the green pendant turn in? And that is Giuseppe's heart. So unfortunately, nothing turning out of Desert Palace. So that's a big time investment that Meow Meow made that is potentially going to leave them behind unless Simon at some point decides to also full clear that pendant dungeon. So we'll see if Simon gets to that point. I think right now they've definitely got bigger fish to fry. They've got, Thieves Town that they can full clear minus the big chest. And they got a lot, they've got a lot of other pretty dense options as well, once they make their way over to Hype Cave. So there's a lot of checks for them to get. Alright, Meow Meow is going to continue diving into these dungeons, so here we go, stepping into Eastern Palace. This is a crystal dungeon that we do need to complete at some point, but unfortunately we don't have the bow, so we're not going to be able to complete it unless we do find that on the way here. Simon is continuing to make their way through the front of Skull Woods, trying to get, looks like they already got one of the items out of this dungeon, and there is one more left. Unfortunately, Skull Woods is a pretty slow dungeon in terms of the items, but based on the statistics and, the some of the biases that are introduced by the randomizer algorithm, there does tend to be progression in Skull Woods a little bit more than you might expect, given that there's only 2 items there. Looks like we got the Cane of Burna there, so it could be actually relevant for logical access to Spike Cave once we have the hammer on hand, but not really going to be relevant now unless we want to use it to make the blind fight more comfortable. But I do, in general, agree with the choice of diving into Skull Woods if you're going to... You don't really have to, but again, like I said, giving yourself more chances to find the hammer before Thieves Town is generally to your advantage. Another approach you can do when you have Dark World access through mitts only is to skip Thieves Town entirely the first time through and just make it all the way to Hype Cave, save and quit, and just do Thieves Town on a second trip. And you can also decide to do Skull Woods then. I've seen some people do that. In fact, I think I recommended that my mentee do that in a race just yesterday. So there's a couple of different ways you can slice it. Like Officer Meow Meow, going to be doing the route to the vanilla big key chest in Eastern Palace here. this dark room is not in logic unless you do have a lamp, but we know that the lamp is going to be logically accessible once you get your once you get your mitts from Bollock Rocks and then the lamp from King's Tomb. And Meow Meow going to use this damage boost strat, very nicely done. And it looks like it's Vanilla Big Key, so we have one more item that we can get from the big chest over here on Meow Meow's side. Meanwhile, Simon is going to be clearing these checks in the Village of Outcasts. We'll see if they decide to step into Thieves' Town or not. I think at the very least, a lot of runners will end up checking the bombable shack underneath. Looks like they already did that, actually, so yeah. So they are going to step into Thieves' Town, unfortunately without the hammer, and yeah, Meow Meow just not having great luck with their choices. So they dived into both, they committed a lot of time into both Desert Palace and Eastern Palace, and unfortunately no progression turning up in either of those two dungeons. Looks like they are going to be dashing across this bridge to turn in their mushroom. We'll see if they elect to do the same save scumming technique that Simon did to save their mushroom on hand in case they find this Kingdom Maria. Some runners will just not even give that a second thought. It is worth noting that it does take a slight amount of extra time to do a hard reset as compared with the save and quit. It looks like we actually just found the hammer here in Thieves' Town. So not going to be leaving anything behind in this dungeon, so that's probably a little bit of a sigh of relief that you can breathe, knowing that you're not going to be orphaning something in the big chest. And looks like we did see Meow Meow take the same approach that Simon did with save scumming the mushroom, so both of these runners going to be holding on to that mushroom for the rest of this seed. Alright, Meow Meow is going to be getting their mitts from Bollock Rocks, and we'll see if they choose to head to the Dark World or go up the mountain like Simon did, or they could also just head straight to King's Tomb. Very nice positioning on Simon. Took a few tries to get that perfect pixel, but if you get that one pixel in the very center of that room, you can dash all the way up in between the spikes. Looks like Meow Meow... Oh, actually Meow Meow might actually use this opportunity to go check Lumberjack Cave, because, yeah, now they actually have, full access to do this, because they have, they have the boots, they have Tempered Sword to take down Aga. They don't have a lamp yet, but as far as they know, they could just be anywhere. So looks like their approach was to wait until they had the boots to check Lumberjack Cave. I don't think by my timings it actually ends up saving you time overall. So it doesn't really matter if you wait until you have the boots to do this check or whether you do it earlier on. I think it's about even either way. Simon continuing their way through Thieves' Town. Not really worried about any deaths in these dungeons for these runners at this point. They've got plenty of hearts. They've got like about 10 hearts, blue mail, and they've got a Tempered Sword, so not really that much to be worried about. Unfortunately, Meow Meow did decide to come over here to Sick Kid instead of heading east to King's Tomb. So they're going to still be missing out on their mitts. Wonder if they're going to be dashing back over there now? Oh no, they did get their mitts from Bollock Rocks. Okay, oh that's right. So they're going to be missing their lamp from King's Tomb, which fortunately for them is not really going to be relevant yet, because Thieves' Town of course doesn't have any dark rooms. So hopefully they'll be getting that in their next save and quit before they have to do anything like Palace of Darkness or Misery Mire or anything like that. Simon is going to get started with their blind fight. Looks like they are starting off pretty well on the kind of scripted version of the fight. It looks like I don't know the second phase of the fight, but that is totally fine. Accidentally lays a bomb, but looks like they meant to use Burna, which of course trivializes the rest of the fight. And nice turning off the Cane of Burna during the intermission between phases. Help you save magic for the third phase. Getting knocked around a little bit, but wasn't really in any danger since we had plenty of hearts to spare. So nothing of note besides that hammer coming out of Thieves' Town, but that hammer is definitely good to have. I'm a little bit confused because it looks like Simon's tracker still claims that there's an... Okay, never mind. No items left in Thieves Town. Looks like it just took a second to update. Looks like Meow Meow is going to also take the trip into Skullwoods. So going to be the same, roughly the same amount of time sink that Simon did upon entering the Dark World. And I assume they're going to be finding their Cane of Burna here as well. They took a little bit of a different approach to routing Skullwoods, I believe. So they went down the lower left drop down. Ooh, Simon accidentally picking up a chicken, one of the Dark World chickens there. You have to be a little bit careful about that, actually. If you try to do a hammer dash and you pick up a chicken at the same time, it can actually be pretty bad. It leaves you in a pretty weird state. It looks like Meow Meow did a save and quit. I'm not sure. Maybe they ended up getting soft locked because they didn't have a key for Skullwoods. If so, that's a little bit unfortunate. That is something that can happen if you take that lower left drop down. I do believe that is actually well, and there's like a million ways to route Skullwoods. It depends on how much of it you want to clear. But that is a pretty effective way to clear Skullwoods in terms of the average time it takes to clear the dungeon. So I certainly don't blame them and their mentor for taking that route. It just didn't happen to work out this time. But luckily, you know, since we have the mitts and the boots, it doesn't really take that much extra time to just dash over the portal again. Alright, so we'll see if Meow Meow decides to do the same thing as Simon in terms of committing to Thieves Town. It looks like Simon is did find the bow on Dig Game. So that's going to let us clear Palace of Darkness. So I imagine that Simon from this point has a pretty clear path. You know, they're going to go all the way from Stumpy to Hype Cave, and then after Hype Cave, probably they've got the hookshot as well. Nice. We're kind of finding all the big ticket items here. So I imagine after Hype Cave, Simon probably going to want to go over and maybe check Pyramid Ledge, but definitely go over to Palace of Darkness, since that is also a full clearable crystal dungeon. Worth noting that we can also full clear Ice Palace here with our current equipment. So that might be a potential next step. Another big consideration is we do have a lot of checks that just opened up on the mountain, as well as Tower of Hera. And of course, Ice Palace is a full clearable crystal. It is a red crystal, but again, Ice Palace does get a lot faster to clear if you have that Cane of Samaria on hand and know how to do the Icebreaker glitch. Not sure if either or both of these runners know how to do that glitch. You know, it's certainly something that some mentees will know how to do, other mentees might not know how to do, but it is definitely a good glitch to have in your back pocket. It does just speed that dungeon up quite a bit. Alright, Simon getting a nice hammer dash through those pegs. Unfortunately, the hammer dash does not knock enemies out of the way. It looks like Meow Meow did end up committing to Thieves Town, so he is going to find their hammer as well. So basically, treading in Simon's steps. The only difference really is that Meow Meow is behind because, you know, they did commit to that second dip of Desert Palace as well as that dip of Eastern Palace. So that's really what's making the difference here. Simon, I think, also... What was the other difference? Yeah, Simon also took a trip up the mountain, so they do have the flippers on hand from inside Spec Rock. They do also have the knowledge that the Ice Rod is on top of Spec Rock. So once we get our mirror, we can go ahead and grab that. That is going to be not necessarily required because Turtle Rock is a pendant dungeon today. Alright, unfortunately Meow Meow having a little bit of a slower time with that Hellway room. Didn't manage to get that God Pixel, but makes it through without too much trouble. And Simon going to have to walk back out from that shooter chest. Unfortunately, we don't have the mirror, so routing Palace of Darkness is just a little bit more awkward. But at least we do have that hammer, so it's not like it's the worst thing in the world. Alright, and most likely going to find just a bunch of small keys. Yep, Palace of Darkness. The front 6 checks are guaranteed to have at least 4 keys. So a lot of the time, you go into Palace of Darkness and you don't really end up finding most of the items until the second half of the dungeon anyways. Hopefully you're enjoying this week 1 match between these two mentees. Again, Simon's mentor for this race was Larabeen. Hopefully I got that name right. Was Lana Bean, sorry. And Officer Meow Meow's mentor for this race was Mormasil. Alright, Simon now getting to the Bowlock side of Palace of Darkness. It looks like Meow Meow is getting ready to step into their fight with Blind. As I said, probably not going to be worried here about the fight. We do have the Cane of Burna in case things ever go south. Looks like a perfect start to Phase 1 of the script, and it looks like they are going to line up for Phase 2. Very nice dodge. Unfortunately, gets an accidental spin there. That can happen if you release the B at just the wrong moment after getting a poke. But like I said, they've got Burna for Phase 3, so no big deal. Okay, so that is going to be crystal number 1 for Officer Meow Meow. Following in Simon's footsteps for now. I imagine that's going to be the case for a while since, I'm assuming Meow Meow is going to make it down to Dig Game, is going to get their bow, and then is going to be pretty incentivized to go all the way to Hype Cave and then make it to Palace of Darkness from there. I think the one possible divergence point could be, you might elect to skip, okay, I was going to say you might elect to skip Hammer Pegs and, do it later once you have like the mirror and can do it along with Smith Chain, but looks like Meow Meow is going to make the same decision here and do Hammer Pegs. I think it's certainly a good idea. Really doesn't take that much time. I guess the other potential point of divergence is that some people will elect to check Pyramid Ledge as kind of a side stop on the way to Palace of Darkness. And yeah, both of our runners going to have access to that shovel. That's going to kind of be a to-do item for both of our runners once they're done with this current Dark World trip. Unfortunately, getting some sword beam hits there on Simon's side, but not a big deal. It is something that you can actually try to avoid if you stand a little bit further away from the enemy that you're trying to slash. Usually hitting with the very tip of your sword will drastically reduce the chances that you'll get a sword beam hit instead of a proper slash hit. Alright, looks like we're going to go with the strategy of holding your sword out to make getting the hammer hits easier on Helmsor. Going to be 17 hits for Phase 1. And then once the mask is fully broken, it's going to be just a couple of tempered sword slashes. It looks like 4 slashes, I think. Or you can also do a spin, which counts for double. So very nice job on that fight by Simon and Officer Meow Meow picking up their bow. And I don't believe we really got anything out of Palace of Darkness progression-wise, but we did get that red crystal, which of course is going to be required because we're going to need all 7 of our crystals to gain entrance into Ganon's Tower, which is going to be ultimately our final goal here. Ooh, Simon walking back in. Okay, so they, I guess they found, I wasn't keeping track. So it looked like they found the big key early on. So I'm assuming they found the big key on the Bowlock side and then decided to go straight to Helmasaur. I think that is, that's definitely the right play, especially without a mirror on hand, because this way you go from Helmasaur, you get an automatic mirror back to the front of the dungeon, and now once you finish, opening the big chest, you don't have to worry about making it all the way to Helma from the big chest, which could be really awkward without the mirror on hand. So you can just save and quit once you're done with all these items and not have to worry about it. So definitely approve of this routing. So it looks like we still got 3 more items in Palace of Darkness here. I believe Harmless Hellway. Let's see, we have 2 keys. The key counting is a little bit odd for me because we did Helmasaur first. I believe Harmless Hellway, yeah, is not a guaranteed key, so we do have to check that. Unfortunately, just the map. Okay, but it looks like we are going to get a Pyramid Ledge check from Officer Meow Meow. I think a potential good reason to put this off would be if you're planning on getting both of the red crystals, and then you can combo this. You can do this at the same time that you do Pyramid Fairy. But one of our red crystals, our other red crystal, is in Misery Mire, so probably not going to be clearing that one anytime soon. But it is just 3 bombs on Pyramid Ledge, so unfortunately, the points of divergence are not working in Officer Meow Meow's favor this entire seed. We'll have to see if they can kind of make something happen once we're done here in Palace of Darkness. I will say, once we're done with Palace of Darkness, this is a potential, place where the seed can really open up and give us some additional divergence, because now we've got a lot of choices, right? We can clear Ice Palace if we want to, but again, we kind of want to put that off in case we find the Cane of Samaria somewhere. We can also do, the flipper checks. Unfortunate losing Kiki on Meow Meow's side. Gonna have to go back and fetch the monkey again. Looks like Simon actually didn't elect to save and quit out of Palace of Darkness, so I imagine they're going to dash over to Pyramid Ledge from here. And we'll see if they end up deciding to commit to Catfish as well. This is a good sign for Officer Meow Meow because, this is, I think, having to walk, retrace their steps all the way back through this Palace of Darkness maze screen, does mean Simon is spending some additional time here, so... I have to imagine it's probably faster to do Pyramid Ledge first and then Palace of Darkness rather than the other way around, but again, this does open up the possibility of Simon continuing on from here to Catfish. It is a pretty slow check, like even with the boots, I think Catfish takes, maybe something like 50-ish seconds. Maybe that's without the boots, so maybe like 45 seconds-ish to get to from here. It looks like they are going to commit to that. It could be really nice if they score the mirror here, because then they could just mirror and check the Waterfall Cave and the Zora checks. Probably not going to happen, but if it does, it'd certainly be nice. But as I was saying earlier, I think this could be a potential point of divergence here in the seed. So like I said, we have Ice Palace that we can do, but we also have, you could just do flipper checks. That's kind of like the least committal choice here, because you just start at Link's house and just do all the flipper checks, and you're not really going to do anything else from Zora. And the other option, of course, we have is just going up the mountain with all the density in the world there. All right, what is our favorite fish gonna have, or maybe second favorite if you like Zora better? Just 300 rupees. So that is, like I said, that is an extra time investment that, gives Officer Meow Meow small widening window to come back into this. Unfortunately, running into that electrified blue jelly doesn't really help. All right, Simon looks like they are going to go ahead and do these flipper checks. So like I said, this is kind of... they might also be eyeing Ice Palace here, but I imagine it's probably going to be the flipper checks first. At the very least, I think you do Hobo first, just in case, your Cane of Samaria is there. And like I said before, I think all the water checks are kind of the least committal here. They're not really going to get any faster from this point unless you get the flute. And especially since Simon has already checked Catfish, we don't have the potential option of mirroring from Catfish to check the water checks either. It looks like we're just going to save and quit after Hobo. A little bit surprised to see that. And then we're starting again. Ooh, is this actually faster? Okay, this is actually something I need to time. Is it faster to save and quit again? Oh, okay, I was going to say. Where are they? Oh, they're going Eastern. Of course they're going Eastern. We haven't done Eastern yet, and we have a bow. Okay. That is certainly a great option, and looks like they are going to get the Saha checks as well, because they haven't done that as well. Makes perfect sense. Unfortunately, Meow Meow gonna have to do these Palace of Darkness dark rooms. Gonna have to get to Helmasaur in the dark here. So fighting turtles without any light source. Luckily, they have the fire rod on hand, so they just have to try and light one of these torches, and there we go. That's kind of the scariest part over. So that was one advantage that Simon had going in here. Again, the lamp is hiding out in King's Tomb once Meow Meow goes ahead and checks that. But they did pretty well with just the Fire Rod. And a nice burn and dash to get past those two turtles. Okay, oh, we got some advanced strats here. We got some bomb strats against Helmasaur. Alright, so we got 4 bombs, actually. 5 bombs, okay. So each bomb is actually going to do the equivalent of 4 hammer hits. So sometimes you see some hybrid strats where some people do, 2 bombs and then the rest hammer hits. Unfortunately, I think, you'd like to just be able to just, like, throw 4 bombs at Helmasaur really fast, but unfortunately you can only lay 2 bombs at a time. That's what prevents the all-bomb strat from being super optimal. But it's always funny because some people, I think, when they play the vanilla game, I think a lot of people, I've heard it both ways, where some people are like, well, obviously you have to use the hammer on Helmasaur because you got the hammer from the big chest in the dungeon. But then I've heard from other people that they just never knew. I think just whichever way that you kind of did it when you first play the game is the way that you expect. And then the other way just like seems crazy to you. Like, what? Who would ever think of using bombs? But then you have people who are like, what? Use the hammer? I thought you always just use bombs. Alright, so Meow Meow is going to go finish up these checks in the back of Palace of Darkness. It is going to be potentially a little bit more difficult for them. There are no torches in the Dark Maze in Palace of Darkness, so they're going to have to navigate that without any assistance. They do have, looks like they do have another bee in a bottle if they want to use that to, kill the enemies in the Dark Maze. It is a potential option they can count on. They're going to have to navigate themselves around in the dark, hopefully assisted by their mentor, or maybe they just have it on deck and they already know how to do the dark room. Meanwhile, Simon is going to go ahead and get this vanilla big key out of Eastern Palace. I think once Officer Meow Meow goes to Eastern Palace, we're going to see them gain a little bit of time back because they've already been through Eastern Palace, so they don't need to go to this vanilla big key chest again to get their big key. But unfortunately, it's a time loss overall, given that they had to. They're going to have to go through Eastern Palace a second time when Simon is going to come out ahead, only needing to go through this dungeon once. All right, Simon into the kind of back portion of Eastern Palace here, and is going to make their way to the Armos Knights, which holds our last item in Eastern Palace. And you can see, yeah, Meow Meow is, kind of being slowed down a lot here by the lack of lamp. They seem to be making their way okay, but I have to imagine that this would have been faster if they only had happened to check King's Tomb before coming here. Hard to tell exactly what's going on from just the stream, but from what I can tell, I think they're not getting. It doesn't seem like they're getting hopelessly lost. Okay, I think. Well, we'll see in a few seconds. It's like they're trying to get to that bottom right chest, but maybe trapped in a corner of some sort. All right. In the meantime, Simon is going to try and set up for this Armos Knight quick kill. Trying to skip phase 2, and that is a very nicely done quick kill. Only 3 bombs on Armos, but that is going to be crystal number 3 for Simon at the 48-minute mark. Ooh, it looks like Officer Meow Meow finally managed to find their way to that chest, and just needs to find their way to the big chest now. Just go right. Yeah, there you go. We've only got 1 heart left here. I wonder if that is intentional to set up a death warp, or whether they just narrowly avoided dying on the way here. It's like they're going to save and quit. I think that makes sense. Yeah, they've already checked Pyramid Ledge, so not really any point in walking out of Palace of Darkness. But I'm glad for their sake that they managed to make it through there without taking a death. Of course, we know that there was nothing of significance in those chests, so wouldn't have mattered either way. But it always feels really bad to, spend a lot of time trying to get through a dark room and then die at the very end before you can even open your item. And of course, they're going to go right to King's Tomb and probably going to be a little bit disappointed given that they could have had this the whole time. Okay, Simon going to go and pick up a red potion. I wonder if this is going to be the play into Ice Palace here. And looks like it is, so skipping out on the Zora checks and skipping out on the item density on the mountain, and instead going to perhaps go into Ice Palace. Looks like they're going to pick up some extra bombs. And arrows, why not? Usually the arrows are a little bit less relevant. They could come in handy for a future fight against Vitreous, potentially. But you got plenty of money to spend, and yeah, there's going to be the play into Ice Palace. I imagine getting those extra bombs is because, the Ice Palace bomb jump is very important to get in this dungeon. There's some other fancy bomb strats that you can use, but not sure how many mentees know how to do that. And even if so, we have the Tempered Sword, so that kind of negates the need for most of the fancy bomb shenanigans. Looks like Meow Meow is going to do their old man rescue, and so they are gonna say no to Ice Palace for now. They're actually going to skip out on Eastern Palace as well. I wonder if they're waiting until they potentially have a flute to make the traversal to Eastern Palace a little bit faster. But they're going to go up the mountain, so that means that after we check, Spec Rock here and grab our flippers, or walk past Spec Rock, question mark? Okay, yeah, you definitely going to want to check the item inside as well. Looks like that was just an accidental leap off. You see some nice usage of the super speed glitch to walk faster here, as well as holding a bomb to climb up those stairs faster. Okay, and Simon going to continue making their way through Ice Palace. They've only got 5 hearts left, so I'm glad for their sake that they decided to grab a red potion before coming in here. Looks like Meow Meow is maybe being mentored on the fly, trying to get a setup for this bomb jump out of here. We'll see if that pays off. Okay, moment of truth. Nice job. A nice job by Mormasil. I'm assuming that had to be some coaching on the fly. Alright, so Officer Meow Meow going to give us our first look at the east side of Death Mountain. So I imagine we're going to be seeing Paradox Cave, Tower Para, Ether Tablet, and Spiral Cave, and then all the Dark World about Death Mountain stuff. Meanwhile, Simon is going to be trying to set up for their Ice Palace bomb jump. Gets it first try, very nicely done. Didn't even need any menu buffer, but unfortunately tries to bonk over the pit and gets nicked by the fire bar, so you're gonna have to show us that same setup again. Okay, very nicely done. Oh no! Be careful, Simon! Okay, Simon really nailing the hard part of all this, but then just needs to find a way to get past this fire bar safely. Step on the switch. A lot of people will use the hook shot here. Oh no, but you have to hit the switch. This is a small little comedy of errors here, but Simon does manage to make it through the room okay in the end. And like I said before, they do have that red potion, so they might want to pop that at some point if they're ever feeling in danger. Okay, they can still take another hit, so they're still fine. And if they route northward here, like is traditional, there is a heart for them. They are going to have to, watch out for this spike. Okay, so they're actually going to check freezer chest first. Okay, this is a different way to route the dungeon. Have to be a little bit careful of these freezors if you're going to do this room, because they can definitely kill you in one hit. Alright, nice. Alright, Meow Meow going to continue on with these checks. Looks like we just came out of Paradox Cave, so we're going to scout Floating Island, and then I imagine we're going to see a trek over to the west side, crossing this hammer bridge, before continuing on with the rest of the checks. And Simon gonna... Oh, okay, this makes sense. I was gonna say I was going to wonder exactly what their route was, but it looks like they want to get these fairies here in this drop-down. Very smart choice. And from here, I guess they're going to go to Ice-T the long way. Alright, and we're going to get our first peek into Tower of Hera from Officer Meow Meow. It's very common to see runners do a Hera pot clip to finish this dungeon faster. We'll see if Meow Meow knows how to do that bomb plus hookshot setup. We do find the Ether Medallion there in the first chest. Or it's not a chest, but in the basement cage. Okay, and Officer Meow Meow looks like they do know how to do this Hera pot setup. Very nice, and avoids, make sure to have the right movement to avoid soft blocking as well. Simon, unfortunately, went back down the stairs accidentally. Okay, and Meow Meow needs to be careful about this spike. Oh yeah, that's a common mistake. I've done that before too. So it looks like the big key was in the basement of Tower of Hera, so I believe it's going to be... We're either going to have the last item on Moldorm or in the big chest. Gated behind doing the basement. Very nice bumper skip by Meow Meow there. Nice dash. It's only like I think it's like a 4-pixel window or something like that you can get that bumper skip. Oh, unfortunate. Tried to finish the fight with that spin after doing the first slash, and I think just missed out the vulnerability there. Okay, and opting to just use Burnout for the refight. Just doesn't even want to deal with it. And it is going to be, like, you know, slightly slower than optimal because you can't do spin slashes when you are using the Kin Burna, but definitely ensures that you won't take a fall. It looks like we did find the second item in Tower of Hera, so no need to do the basement. I assume, based on what I've seen from this year's mentees, I think it's pretty likely that Simon will also know how to do that Hera pot clip. But if on the off chance that they don't, that is going to be a big time save, because to clear this dungeon without the Hera pot clip, you're going to have to go into the basement, wait for all the tiles, and that takes like a full minute, even more if you don't have a mirror, and then you're going to have to do that to get your big key. But Meow Meow having skipped all that by knowing that hookshot clip. Did find the Bombless Medallion here in Ice Palace. I think that is the only thing that we found of note. Well, still to be determined whether either Bombos or Ether is going to be required for this seed. Ether, of course, being in Tower of Hera, we saw that on Meow Meow's side, and then Bombos being here in Ice Palace. So not really a big concern, you know, both of our runners have those as their full clearable crystals, so we're going to get to them at some point. Alright, Simon stepping into their fight with Cold Stare. Starting it off with the Bombless Medallion, which is going to leave them with plenty of magic for Fire Rod shots. Very nice spin. Yeah, and a pretty quick fight, given all that extra magic to use for Fire Rod shots. Each Fire Rod shot does, of course, double the damage of a Tempered Sword Slash, so definitely really nice to have that extra magic on hand. Ooh, and that's the flute for Officer Meow Meow, so it looks like they are going to save a little bit of time at least, you know, even just getting to Eastern Palace and eventually to Ice Palace, it is going to be faster with that flute on hand. It is, of course, also potentially going to give them access to Misery Mire, although we don't have the Cane of Somaria yet, so I'm going to want to find that first. And the medallion requirement for Turtle Rock is Ether, so we do actually have access to that. Unfortunately, we don't have the Cane of Somaria, so... Or maybe fortunately for our runners, we don't have the Cane of Somaria yet, so we can't do anything in there, so it's not really a concern yet. Looks like Simon is going to choose to do Swamp Palace next. Makes perfect sense. This is another full clearable crystal dungeon. Didn't quite see where they got the mirror from. I guess that was in Ice Palace, huh? So it looks like Simon actually is potentially hitting a pretty nice route here. We'll see. I actually don't know how this is going to work out. So it really depends, so what are we missing here? So we don't need the Ice Rod, although we know that's on Spec Rock. We really need just the Cane of Samaria. We might need Quake Medallion if that's required for entry into Misery Mire. So we're just, all of this is really up to where the Cane of Samaria is, right? And this could depend really heavily on where that is. So like, if the Cane of Samaria is in like, because the difference here is that Paimon has chosen to do these dungeons first, right? Chose to commit to doing Ice Palace, and then found the mirror, and then with that mirror is going to go ahead and do Swamp Palace, and they're putting off all the checks on the mountain because, you know, they're saying, basically their approach is, I have clearable crystal dungeons, let me do those first, and then I'll do the mountain later. Whereas Meow Meow kind of took the opposite approach, where they were like, oh, well, I have a lot of density on the mountain, let me go chase that first, and then I can worry about the dungeons later, and maybe I can find some equipment like the flute or potentially the Cane of Samaria to make these dungeons faster. Unfortunately, they didn't end up finding the Cane of Samaria. That would have really been what they wanted, because that makes Ice Palace so much faster. They did find the flute, and now this flute, you know, they might be incentivized to head over to the Mire area, which we haven't seen yet. That's going to let them find out what the Mire Medallion is, and, you know, if the Cane of Samaria, you know, shows up somewhere, it could end up being huge for them, because then they could use it to clear Ice Palace faster, and if they find the mirror, you know, they get their mirror there, then they'd potentially just be in go mode, and Simon is going to be, you know, spending the time to check, you know, a bunch of these items in Swamp Palace. That's something that Meow Meow could potentially skip depending on how the rest of this seed ends up playing out. It really depends on the location of the Cane of Samaria, though. Okay, so it looks like Simon is going to say no to the left side of Swamp Palace. You know, those two checks on the left side are going to be, you know, the slowest two checks in the dungeon. Takes about, you know, 2 minutes-ish to get those checks. And a very nice first try bomb diver down setup by Simon. Very nice. Okay, it looks like we got the shovel dig check on Meow Meow's side, but just going to be 3 bombs. We're taking the flute, and I think Eastern Palace, yeah, makes a lot of sense. This is literally never going to get any faster until you have the silver arrows for Armos, I guess, but even then, it's not really a big deal. Yeah, but having the flute does make you walk to Eastern Palace a little bit faster than it would be otherwise, because you can just flute to 5, pick up this boulder, and then take these stairs just as Meow Meow is doing. Looks like they're trying to get the hook speed glitch there. Okay, nice, gets it that time. Yeah, Simon going into their fight against Argus. Looks like there's only 2 items left in Swamp Palace here. With Tempered Sword, this fight is a lot nicer because you only need 1 slash per puff. I wonder if they're okay. We're going for some advanced strats here. So if you do a hook dash, you can actually kill the puffs using a poke, and you can kind of chain them together. This is a very advanced technique, so I certainly don't blame Simon for resorting to slashes for the rest of the puffs. Looks like we were setting up for the quick kill on phase 2 as well, but missed it. They're gonna have to resort to some spins. Okay, so only 1 item left in Swamp Palace, I think. So I think at this point, as Simon, you're pretty much surely gonna leave that behind, unless you're just really worried about it, because, you know, Simon has so many items left up on the mountain to check. Yeah, and as expected, Simon is going to leave that 1 item behind. You know, spending 2 whole minutes for just 1 single item really isn't a great value proposition. They're going to end up checking Bomba's tablet here. This could potentially send them into Desert Palace since it's right here, but they could also just step back into their portal, do K45 and Shovel Dig Spot. Looks like they're going to do the latter. So from here, I think the most sensible thing to do from here is, since you're already in the Dark World, you get to do K45, you get to do You also get to do the shovel dig spot along the way. It looks like we still have to do the sick hit check on Simon's side as well. And we could also do, I guess, the Smith turn-in, and maybe even grab Purple Chest, so I like this efficiency from Simon. Okay, Meow Meow trying to set up for this Armless Knights fight. Looks like, I'm not sure if this quick kill is going to happen. Okay, so we're going to have to take a few arrows for phase 2, but no big deal. Alright. And that is going to be crystal number 4 for Officer Meow Meow. They are 1 crystal behind, or 2 crystals behind actually. They still need to do clears of, or 1 crystal behind. They still need to do Swamp Palace and Ice Palace, and Simon still needs to do Tower of Hera. So for the most part, I guess we're basically probably going to see these 2 runners double that, kind of double back on each other's paths. Simon is now going up the mountain, and I imagine they're going to do all the checks here, as well as clearing Tower of Hera. And I imagine Meow Meow with that flute is going to take it to 8, and then is now going to do Ice Palace. Not sure if they're going to elect to do the check of Hobo. I guess assuming, I think I'm pretty sure the mirror was in Ice Palace, so they could... Okay, I was going to say, if they stepped into Ice Palace first, that could have actually been good, because they would have been able to... Okay, it looks like we're changing... Okay, they just wanted to scout the... A little bit of an indecision on where to swim here. Okay, so I was going to say, if they went to Ice Palace first, it would have worked out nicely, because then they would have just had the mirror, and then they could have just mirrored out of Ice Palace, and then, checked Hobo afterward. But of course, there's no way for them to know that the mirror is going to show up in Ice Palace, so I think this makes sense as well. Although I will say, I think looting... Where did they... Where they were at the... Yeah, no, fleeting to 8 makes sense, because they were just at the potion shop. Okay, and Simon looks like they do know how to do this Hera plot clip. Gonna set it up the exact same way. Oh, looks like they accidentally got some vertical movement in there. Let's try that again. Just missed it that time. I will say, a lot of mentees end up laying the bomb and then, letting go of releasing the sword spin afterward. You can actually just release the sword spin before laying the bomb, once you're in position. That'll give you a little bit more time to kind of set things up. But it looks like Simon got that after a few tries. And looks like Meow Meow is going to do these flipper checks that Simon has not done. This could be really big if the King of Smire shows up here. Because Meow Meow has already confirmed that Ether... No, they haven't been... Never mind. They know that Ether is a requirement for Turtle Rock, I believe, but they haven't confirmed the requirement for Misery Mire yet, so... But if this is Samaria, they could potentially be in Go mode after doing Ice? Okay. Just 50 rupees. Okay, Meow Meow gonna start at the mountain. I assume they're gonna flute away. What's going to be the play? Are we going to see Ice Palace, or are we going to see Misery Mire? Mire Shed? Looks like it's going to be Ice Palace. We're going to be sticking to the mantra of just clearing crystal dungeons. This is... I think this makes a lot of sense. I think this is maybe objectively the right call in this circumstance. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's the best shot that Meow Meow has at winning this particular race, because again, they're kind of behind in total this seed, right? Because they made that commitment into the double dip of Desert Palace as well as a double dip of Eastern Palace, so they kind of are behind in terms of their time investments not paying off. I guess Simon had a few things on their side, like Simon did go over and check Catfish. And not find anything there, but Meow Meow has also now spent some time doing the Zora checks, which Simon did not do. So I believe, when all is done and Simon is done with the mountain and Meow Meow is done with with Ice Palace, I think Simon is still going to end up being ahead here. So I almost wonder if Meow Meow's best chance at winning was actually just to go straight to Mire Shed and like hope to get Samaria there, and then just be in go mode so that they can finish, Ice Palace and Swamp Palace a lot faster. But of course, that's just not the world we live in. So I think, to my eyes, looks like Simon is kind of firmly in a commanding seat here. It's always possible that Simon, after finishing the mountain, could decide to do some other things. Let's see, so the flute was on here, right? It was here on the mountain, so I don't think so. I have to imagine that Simon, after getting the flute, is going to just want to go and check out Mire Shed and confirm the medallion requirement for Mire. So I guess the real question is where are the different places that Samaria can pop up? It can't be in Turtle Rock, although interestingly enough, the Quake Medallion could still be in Turtle Rock, so that is a potential possibility here. What else haven't we seen? So there's one chest we haven't seen in the left side of Swamp Palace. We know that it can't be in Pyramid Fairy. We've already seen Catfish. We've already seen Spike Cave. Yeah, it can't be on the mountain. What haven't we seen, actually? We haven't seen Purple Chest. We haven't seen Purple Chest, and we also haven't seen Mire Shed. And it could also just be in Mire itself. Looks like Meow Meow is going to take a different approach to routing Ice Palace. I think this is probably my preferred approach. I know, going over and doing the right side first. So you get to hookshot over to this block. It is a little bit unfortunate that without a small key, you have to take kind of this longer, more circuitous route. But it's nice being able to do the right side of Ice Palace first, because, the right side is kind of a dead end. You do all the stuff there first, and then you get to go to the kind of the second half of the dungeon. Right, so Simon is going to get their flute over here in Super Bunny Cave, and is going to finish off with checking the TR Medallion, and going into Hookshot Cave. Yeah, I have to imagine... So I guess the next question for Simon is if they want to commit to doing Spike Cave here. It's basically the last thing here up on the mountain, right? Because we did all of Hera. Not sure why that's still showing as green on Simon's tracker, but we got everything from Hera. So Spike Cave is the last thing here. It looks like... Okay, they thought about it for a second, but it looks like we are going to skip Spike Cave, which is actually going to be an advantage for Simon, because I don't think there was anything there, right? Yeah. That is an interesting, conundrum of whether or not to skip it or not. It is like the last thing on the mountain, so it feels bad to kind of just leave a single item behind and kind of orphan it. But it is true that if you do the timings, going from Hookshot Cave to Spike Cave is not that much faster than just going to Spike Cave from a save and quit. I'd have to check the exact numbers. I'm not sure if it's different with boots or without boots, but I'm pretty sure it's like not that much different. All right, Officer Meow Meow going to walk into their fight with Cold Stare. I imagine they're probably going to use the same strategy that Simon did and start the fight off with Bombless Medallion. Simon finally going to get their check of Sick Kid. They could potentially route downwards and also check the Shovel... No, I think they already checked the Shovel Dig spot before. Or did they? Let's see. Oh, this is Magic Bat. This makes sense. That's right, because they got the powder out of Swamp Palace. Yeah, so Samaria could actually be here as well. So save scumming that mushroom, not going to be relevant this seed, but we find the Cane of Samaria, so it was Magic Bat. So now it's the only thing we need to figure out is whether Misery Mire is Quake, or whether it's one of the two medallions that our runners already have. So Simon has a 2/3 chance of being in go mode right now. And I feel like the only way for Officer Meow Meow to really come out ahead here is if it's Quake. Because otherwise Simon is just gonna do this. And it's Vamos! So it looks like Simon is solidly in the lead here. Unfortunately, Meow Meow is gonna step into Mire Shed. So it's just a question here of how long does it take for Meow Meow to get to Magic Bat. Ooh, that's a nice pickup. The Magic Cape. It'd certainly come in handy for, you know, the Ganon fight. Ooh, so yeah, Meow Meow's gonna check Checkerboard Cave. This makes perfect sense while you're here in the area. As far as they know, that, you know, the King of Samaria could be here as well. What else do they have left unchecked? Not a lot, right? They have Purple Chest, they have Magic Bat, they have... they haven't done any of Swamp Palace, right? So yeah, that's gonna be their next stop. Is it? Uh-oh. Okay. Yeah, but I mean, it certainly would have been nice if they had, it would have been really good for them if they had done Magic Bat first and then just go moded Swamp Palace, but looks like they are gonna do Swamp Palace as I would recommend them to do in their situation. The full curable crystal. I think stopping at the Mire area first also made sense. You know, you want to confirm the medallion requirement just in case you just find Samaria early on in Swamp Palace, and then you just get to go mode the rest of the dungeon. A little bit of indecision here. Looks like they were about to check K45, then about to enter Swamp Palace, and then now they're going to Bombus Tablet. It does make sense to check some of these overworld checks before heading into Swamp Palace, because again, like if you just score the Cane of Samaria here, you get to go mode Swamp Palace, and go moding Swamp Palace is really, really fast. But unfortunately, we already know that the answer is going to be Magic Bat. Alright, so Simon is just going to be looking for the big key here in Misery Mire. Different people have different approaches of you know, how to route Misery Mire. Some people will like to delay the slow vanilla big key chest, the cutscene chest, until the very end because it's the slowest chest in the dungeon, but it looks like Simon is going to go ahead and... Oh, not going to go ahead. Okay. Usually if you do this route, you actually walk just straight to the right twice instead of walking downward. But this route works too. Just one extra screen transition. And there is the big key in the lobby chest, so if you had checked cutscene chest before that, you would have definitely lost out on like a full minute of time. And Simon is going to go the correct route here. Or I think this is faster. This is faster, right? Yeah, if you're already there, I think this should be faster. Yeah. I think. I have to go check my video again. Okay, but Meow Meow is going to go ahead and hopefully not full clear this dungeon, because if they invest in left side swamp, they're going to be even further behind. I think general consensus is, you know, if you're just like one item away from go mode, you should just go to the back first. So I imagine that's what Meow Meow is going to do here. Looks like Simon might have been trying to set up for a spooky action glitch. We'll see if that is going to happen here in this next room. I'm not sure. Okay, maybe not. Maybe just doing some boots dust as a force of habit. Officer Meow Meow going to give us our Specky clip. Very nicely done on the first try. Very recently discovered glitch, actually. I think it was just... Was it last year or the year before that it was discovered? Alright, and working our way towards Vitreous. Again, this is a boss where the extra arrows could potentially be handy, but I imagine the alternative strat here is just to use the Cane of Berna. We do have Tempered Sword, so it's going to do nice damage whether you use slashes or dashes. It looks like we are going to set up for that. It looks like we're going to do the dash strat, so you can dash through all of the eyeballs, hopefully not bonking too many times. It looks like Officer Meow Meow on their side is going to try and set up for this bomb diver down setup. It looks like they're going to use a slightly different setup than Simon did, so they're going to do they're going to buffer an up left input and then do the left side setup with bombs. It's always cool when when there's multiple approaches to do a specific trick. They're not actually that much different in terms of the time save as well, so some people find that one or the other is easier. I think if you want to be super in the weeds and optimal about it, I think going to the right is slightly better if you're getting the chests, and going to the left is slightly better for skipping the chests, but no one's really caring that much about that. Alright, so it looks like Simon is taking one last trip to the potion shop to stock up before heading to Ganon's tower. And Meow Meow needs to finish their Argus fight. It's interesting, taking a double hook approach. It's actually working pretty well so far. I wonder if this, yeah, I mean, in theory, this is actually slightly, that was actually very well executed, no mistake there. Okay, I'm just gonna use slashes against Argus. If you use, oh, okay, never mind, I stand corrected. So nice 2-cycle on phase 2 there. You can also just use Tempered Sword spins on phase 2. It's going to be 2 Tempered Sword spins to take down phase 2 of Argus. But certainly using the Fire Rod combo shots is another way to do it. Alright, Simon electing to take the Super Bunny route up to GT. I think the consensus is that this is slightly slower, but also lets you avoid more of the dead rocks. And unfortunately, Meow Meow is coming back in here, wants to get the last item here in Swamp Palace. I think this makes more sense for Meow Meow than it did for Simon. I think, Simon, of course, had the entire mountain open, so there were certainly more checks available on their plate, whereas Meow Meow doesn't have a lot of great options, right? It might look like there's a lot of green on their tracker, but remember, a lot of the green on their tracker is stuff that they've already ruled out. They've already checked Shovel Dig Spot, they've already checked Library Ledge, they've already checked Checkboard Cave, they've already done most of the green squares on their tracker, actually. They've already checked Pyramid Ledge as well. They haven't done Catfish, which I guess is slightly off-screen. But I think from their point of view, this does kind of make sense. They might also, feel like, oh, I did spend a lot of time on that Eastern Palace and Desert Palace, dips, and this one check could have been something that my opponent left behind, and this could be my way back into the race. So not a bad idea from them, even though, of course, it's going to lose them some more time in this case. But it looks like Simon is going to take the Hope Left route here in Ganon's Tower as they look for the big key. Ganon's Tower basement, of course, has 22 checks, and the big key is equally likely to show up in any of those checks. Entering the Stalfos room here, and it looks like the big key is right there, so we don't even have to deal with the Stalfos. Really convenient. And Simon is going to start their Ganon's Tower climb, and Meow Meow, unfortunately, going to be disappointed finding nothing in Left Side Swamp. And looks like we're going to get the Magic Bat check probably together with picking up the purple chest. And Simon in the first Mimics room on the climb. This can be a very tricky room if you don't know how to do a consistent setup for it. Okay, nice job. And Meow Meow is closing in on their go mode. Oh, that's right, they still need to pick up the Smith as well. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit of extra time on Meow Meow's side. Okay, nice dash past those spikes on Simon's side. And using the strategy of hurling yourself off that ledge, it does give you enough invincibility frames to dash through all the cannonballs. Okay, and a very nice job through the first room of the gauntlet there. And making use of the Fire Rod here against these Stalfos, it is an instant kill. It looks like the Stalfos are actually in the, the good prize pack, so they dropping some fairies, dropping large magic, and Meow Meow finally going to be picking up their Cane of Samaria from Magic Bat. So they'll be on their way to finish Misery Mire and Vitreous next. Okay, nice Fire Rod shot by Simon. And 2 dashes to exit that room. Next is going to be the refight against Lanmo. It's going to be, I think, 4 Tempered Sword slashes for each Lanmo here. And each spin will do double damage of that. We'll see. Hopefully Meow Meow on their side takes the same route that Simon does through Misery Mire, and avoiding the cutscene chests. Otherwise, that's going to be another minute of time. Yeah, but at this point, barring anything disastrous on Simon's side, I'm pretty sure that the game is pretty solidly, in Simon's favor. Very nice one cycle for the Wizrobes, for the second Wizrobes room. Alright, and pretty confident execution so far here on the Torches room. Looks like they're going to take the strat of falling to reset their position. Does cost a heart to do so, but, they've still got 13 hearts, so no big deal. They're going to take the time to get these refills here in GT. I'm liking, the consistency that I'm seeing from Simon here in this GT climb. I think it can't be understated, it can't be overstated, how much that when you're actually in a live race against someone, that the nerves can start to kick in the later and later the race goes, especially when you're on the GT climb and you're fighting all these enemies in the gauntlet, and you have to do a lot of these rooms, which demand they have a lot of tough execution requirements. Okay, nice, gets that spin there on Moldorm and the slash. That looked a little bit dicey there for a second, but again, Simon clutching it out so far. Okay, and finds a green rupee in the final chest. And Officer Meow Meow, I'm gonna take the dash right twice, so gonna save on that one screen transition that I was mentioning earlier. Unfortunately, Simon getting bullied a little bit by those mini Helmas, but gets through the stairs. And Officer Meow Meow is gonna find their big key here. It looks like they're gonna go for this rail clip technique. Let's see if they can get this. Oh, unfortunately dashes through the door. Yeah, this is a same frame input. And unfortunately that fire bar is not making it any easier. I feel like that fire bar tends to stick around exactly when you're failing to get that clip. Okay, so just gonna back up and do this the normal way. Yeah, I'm not... Looks like Meow Meow and their mentor also not sure exactly of which way is faster to Vitreous. It might matter of... I think it's only a small difference, either way. I do have a video on it, but it assumes you're starting at the start of the dungeon, so maybe things change. Alright, but Simon taking down Agatu and gonna go into their Ganon fight. I think they still have a potion on hand, assuming they didn't use it on the climb, because I do remember they did fly over the potion shop, so I'm not too worried for them here. They are going to have to do this without the aid of the silver arrows, though. So there's not going to be a trivial fight by any means. It's going to be 12 slashes for Phase 1 and Phase 2. It looks like we're not, doing any fancy one cycles here. Or if we did, maybe we just messed up the spin setup. Okay, so we're on Phase 2. Nice usage of the hook shot for invincibility. Very nicely timed. That looks very confident and practiced. Ooh, got combo hit by those fire bats. Luckily has a fairy and a blue potion still on deck. Yeah, honestly, I think if I was, well, I was gonna say you could just use the Cane of Berna here. I think that's what I'd be tempted to recommend as if I was coaching Simon, but you know, saving magic for Silverless Ganon is also not a bad idea. I know we do have a blue potion, but you never know what can happen. Okay, and Officer Meow Meow gonna go into their Vitreous fight. Looks like they're probably gonna use the same type of strats, this time with a cape. Oh, we're actually gonna have to get some spin strats, nice. It looks like Silvers or Misery Mire, no chance that you're getting those. Since, you know, both of our runners go modding Misery Mire. Simon does successfully get the torch glitch. So now it's just a matter of getting enough of these spin hits as Ganon starts teleporting. And hopefully we don't see any unfortunate falls here. As Officer Meow Meow picks up their 7th crystal. Ooh, Simon just a little bit too early on that spin there. It was a good attempt. Looks like they are doing, you know, trying to set up for these triples, getting 3 spins in one cycle, but can be hard to get. Yeah, unfortunately misses all 3 of them there on that cycle. Hopefully we don't see a lot of nerves kicking in here. Simon is almost there. Just needs to clutch out this fight. Okay, switching to the lamp. I like this. Simon does still have a blue potion on deck, but you never know. You could just take a fall, and you'll be really glad you have that blue potion for the refight. Okay, looks like this looks pretty good for Simon. Okay, that fire bat was a little bit close. Oh, just a little bit too early again. Okay, nice. Oh, and didn't have enough time to get that hit in. Yeah, was a little bit slow on that one as well. But still making good progress. And that's gonna do it. So Simon successfully taking down Ganon as Officer Meow Meow makes their way up Super Bunny Cave and towards GT. Looks like Simon is going to finish with a time of 1:31:38. So GG's to Simon. We are going to go ahead and watch the rest of this game as Officer Meow Meow finishes their GT climb and their Ganon fight. Hopefully without too many issues. So great job to Simon and I keep on forgetting their mentor's name. I apologize. Simon and Lana Bean. So Simon basically an entire... oh, looks like... I guess Officer Meow Meow not finishing? Okay. No, did they finish the seed? I think they did end up finishing the seed, but maybe they stopped to put some words in the chat. There we go. Yeah, so I think you could see, you know, the difference in the race. Somehow the timers are a little bit offset. Wonder when that happened. But basically the difference, you know, in the timings for this match, you can kind of see it chalk up to, you know, for a lot of the early game, Simon and Meow Meow were kind of just chasing each other's, you know, footsteps. They were doing kind of the exact same thing. The one big difference came when Meow Meow decided to go back into Desert Palace a second time, and then also go into Eastern Palace, and neither of those two paid off. And that lead that Simon was able to, you know, accrue from not having done both of those just kind of stuck through the rest of the seed, I kind of feel like. The other thing was Simon did decide to check out King's Tomb a little bit earlier than Officer Meow Meow, so Meow Meow did have to do Palace of Darkness in the dark. Meow Meow was very successful in doing the Turtle Room on the way to Helmasaur because they did have the Fire Rod on hand, but they spent a little bit of extra time in the Pod Dark Maze since they didn't have that lamp on hand. Of course, there are no torches in that room. We had another big point of divergence when Meow Meow decided to go up the mountain, and Simon went to clear Ice Palace, followed by Swamp Palace. But in the end, that didn't actually end up mattering that much. I think all things considered, they just ended up doing the same things, just in the reverse order. Simon did end up not having to check the water checks, so they never made it to the Zora area. So that's another thing they saved on, but they did also, spend the time to go to Catfish, so. Okay, Meow Meow is going to continue on with this GT climb here. Nice use of the cape to get through the spikes. It is going to cost, it is going to cost some magic to do that, but Meow Meow does have 3 full blue potions on deck, so magic not really going to be a concern. Looks like they're taking out their Fire Rod to help the Gauntlet as well. And I do like this, if you spent the time to, accumulate those resources, if you spent the time to, get those potions, the potions you have at the very end of the game, if you have extra potions, they don't count for bonus points or anything like that, right? So if you bought those potions, make sure you're making good use of them. If using extra magic is gonna speed you up on climb, that's kind of why you bought these potions. Alright. So as I say that, Meow Meow chugging the first of those potions and is going to be at full health and magic going into this next room in the Gauntlet. Got some hookshot strats here. And we'll see how they approach the Lanmo 2 refight. Simon was mostly using their sword for this. Looks like Meow Meow is also going to elect to do the same, starting with the spin there. Looks like they're going to opt for more spins and slashes. So the spins are going to do twice as much damage. Unfortunately gets a poke there, that only does half damage. Ooh, and gets a downward hop there, that's unfortunate. Should be able to take this one out, yeah, nice. And they're looking very healthy going into these next rooms in the climb. Starting with the first Wizworld room. Very nice. I like the rightward movement out of the stairs as well to cancel stair lag. See if they get the 1 cycle on this Wizworld room. Okay, going for a little bit of a different strat. So going for a strat where you get the bottom 2 only using the Smarty blocks. A little bit slower than what Simon did, but still manages to get the job done. We'll see how they approach the Torches room. Okay, so it looks like they're going to wait a little bit longer for that firebar, and using the same strat of throwing themselves off. Okay. I think at this point, opening these chests in the mini Helmasaur room, this next room coming up, is not a bad idea, given that, you've cleared a lot of the rest of the game. I guess we haven't stepped foot into TR, but a nice call on Meow Meow, I guess, for this particular seed, given that we know that the silver arrows are actually in Misery Mire, so. Okay, gonna be refilling on health and magic here. Yeah, I think opening that particular chest really doesn't cost you that much time, especially if you're already walking through there to get your fairies and your magic. Ooh, that was really close. Okay, I'm gonna just do... Oh no! Okay. Was trying to do 3 slashes there, but accidentally got a poke, but luckily I had the Cane of Burna as a backup. Accidentally quick swap the wrong way. Alright, just a few more rooms until we get to the fight with, the refight with Aghanim. Very nice dash through the center of that room. That's something that Simon didn't manage to land, so nice to see that from Meow Meow. let's see how we do against this Aga 2 fight. The Aghanim 2 warp positions are seeded, so both runners are going to be dealing with the same positions, and that was a very nice triple. Okay, it looks like there's only 2 more hits required here. That is a very awkward position to stand in. Ooh, narrowly misses getting it on that cycle. Alright, and there is the Aga 2 fight for Meow Meow. All that's left is to take down Ganon, and they've got 2 blue potions on deck to help with it. Another possible strategy for handling the Ganon fight is to use the... they can use either Burna or the Magic Cape. You know, Burna does drain magic at a slower rate, but the advantage of the Magic Cape is that if you are using the Magic Cape and spamming your sword, it won't use up that much magic, and if you are holding a wall, it actually won't drain magic at all. So those are potential strategies. Looks like Meow Meow does have the cape equipped. It's going to be 12 hits for phase 1. Spins will count for double. Alright. On to phase 2. It's knocked around a little bit by those fire bats. Surprised they didn't use their cape there, you know, they still had plenty of magic. I feel like in that situation, you know, you might as well use your cape before drinking the blue potion, right, to get the maximum value out of your blue potion. Alright, this is what I like to see. And yeah, Meow Meow making good use of that trick that I just mentioned, holding the wall to prevent the magic drain. And they've still got enough magic for phase 4. Still got half a bar plus another blue potion, so this should be fine. If they ever need to, they can, you know, use the lamp instead of the fire rod. So all that they really need to do is make sure that they nail this torch glitch. So that is lighting the left-hand torch before the right-hand torch goes out, and that will cause the right-hand torch to stay continuously lit. Okay, making their way to the torch. Okay, very nicely done. Now they've just got to land these spin hits. Okay, that's 2 so far. Looks like they're just going to stick to using the lamp here, conserve some magic. Whereas Simon took the approach of trying to use the fire rod to line up some extra hits. But you know, if you can consistently just get 2 hits every cycle, that is going to be pretty fast too. And it looks like Meow Meow is doing that so far. This looks very consistent. So I think what Simon, you know, was trying to do would have been faster, but you know, we did see Simon have some misses, whereas Meow Meow is being very consistent with these 2 cycles hits. Yeah, this looks very confident, especially for someone who this is their first race of the tournament as a mentee. So it's really great. It's really great to see that this Solar's Ganon fight is this practiced. Very nice job by Officer Meow Meow on phase 4 of Ganon. So it looks like Meow Meow is going to finish a little over 10 minutes behind. And looks like the final time is going to be 1:42.18. So GG's to both of our runners today. Again, this was match between Simon and Officer Meow Meow, Simon being mentored by Lana Bean, and Officer Meow Meow being mentored by Mormasil. This was part of week 1 of the Swiss rounds of the Gomo Podcast Mentor Tournament 2025. Week 2 is just about starting as I end this recording, actually, since it's past midnight now. Week 2 is going to be another week of Open Assured Sword seeds, I believe, and so we're going to see more of these open seeds with a sword start, and we're going to see more of these matches between these mentees. Hopefully you enjoyed watching this race today. I highly encourage you to give both of these runners a follow, as well as support them and their respective mentors for doing such a good job and giving us a great performance today. This is a promising start, it only goes up from here. This is, like I said, this is only week 1 of 6 weeks of the Swiss rounds of the Mentor Tournament, and we're going to have a whole tournament bracket after that. So our mentees are going to have plenty of time to learn from various mentors and learn various techniques, improve their execution, think about routing. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we get out of the mentees for this year. That is going to do it for this commentary. Be sure to follow the Go Mode Podcast Twitch channel as well if you want to see these races live. We have been getting quite a few restreamed races already, even in the Swiss rounds, so that is really good to see. And you can also tune into the Go Mode Podcast Discord channel if you want to get some notifications on when future races are happening, so that you can catch those as they happen. Going to fast forward here to the end screen for Officer Miyamo, just in case you want to see the difference in collection rate. That is going to do it. My name is DDR Kirby ISQ. I am one of the mentors helping out this year, and hopefully you enjoyed my commentary. Hope to be doing a few more of these this year as I have time in between, mentoring these actual mentees. And I'll see you for the next one. Have a good one.